Yeah, so I am a caster. Obviously, I've been in Siege for about a little over 15 months as a caster. I've been playing Siege since the beta. My experience is largely based in T3, T4. I've casted for just about every league worth its weight in salt, except for CCS. That is the league I've set my sights on next, as well as Challenger League. Everything else later down the road. One thing to note is not even eligible currently for CL. I'm only 17, so there's a bit of a path ahead of me as far as getting to CL.
I mean, starting it off early and getting there, getting your qualifications up before you turn 18, like that's valuable in itself.
Of course.
So introductions out of the way, we can get back to the meat potatoes of everything. I think the most pressing thing, obviously, like as of recording today, new season reveal. I think personally that Siege is hopefully going to enter a better direction. I think they're really doing a good job of addressing the utility meta, but there are some issues that I think need addressing. Um, yeah.
Yeah, Aruni, I like what I see from her so far. We were talking about this before we went live. Aruni, I feel like is in some respects an operator which we haven't seen in her utility. It just really acts in a very diverse way. One of the big things I like about it is the fact that it will kind of destroy any utility you throw through it. I feel like that's kind of a role that Jaeger and Wamai don't really fill, in that you can kind of lock off a really specific area. One thing that I looked at was if you're trying to avoid like a really common nade spot, say you are defending, I don't know, church, and they are going for a kind of a church wall hold. Obviously, you'll need to clear the Electric Claw, the Bandit batteries, whatever's protecting it. If you've got her gadget on the wall, you can't throw a nade over it. It's increasingly difficult. Another use for that gadget on the CCTV window, both of these being Clubhouse, obviously, you can deny one of the flame bolts from Capita, which is huge. I mean, that's
it denies
really
even
only
bolts. That's
yeah,
wow.
It's only really kind of Wamai's territory there, and the issue is with Wamai, you don't really want to risk having a random flame bolt detonate somewhere inside of the objective, and with this new operator, you can just completely rule that out.
Yeah, to counter bandit.
Oh yeah, the like little pixel. Yeah, I know what you're
shit.
talking about.
Yeah, I remember always just throwing like one weird ass Wamai disc like above Harry Potter or some shit just to fuck with that. I do think that Aruni enters a really weird territory where she's in this weird kind of between spot where I mean, with the new rework to Jaeger's a bit more permanent in nature. That being said, obviously his gadget you can just shoot it. So there's no really worrying about it in that sense. Aruni, though, hers is a bit more permanent. Forgive me if I'm wrong here, but it seems like it can only be disabled as opposed to completely destroyed. I think that if we're talking like from a competitive standpoint, I think that could pose some very interesting strats, especially on doorway heavy maps or wall heavy maps like theme park, cafe, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And then I don't know. I also want to talk about her being able to punch holes in walls. What's up with that? Why is this is it well, like, is this just another one of those like quirks they like to give to these operators for no fucking reason? I mean, she already has a DMR as her primary. Yeah. It'll be interesting because I know it's just going to be people drawing dicks and walls, but
as if they didn't already.
Yeah, right.
I feel like Aruni kind of addresses too many cross sections, though, in that she can One, she can fight at really long range. I mean, a DMR that's almost
Oh
unheard
yeah.
of, rivaled only by really the TCSG, and even that's been nerfed
Yeah, the
recently.
Mark 17, like it's got I mean, it is a legitimate DMR. Like
Yeah.
no recoil, beaming from long range. I can't wait to spawn peak with it. It's gonna be so much fun.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Plus, with the prosthetic limb, just there's going to be a major rise in the amount of people getting very upset after spawning in. Yeah.
Oh my god, dude. That
Hmm.
man, and then she has the. If you don't want to take the DMR, you can take the Roni, which is another weapon that I've quite recently seen a surge in Mozzie mains using the Roni
Yes.
1.5 only for the Roni 1.5.
Yeah, I
She
would
doesn't
hope
have the
not, because
1.5 on the Roni, I don't
that gun
think.
is just insane.
I think it's fucking dumb as
Speaking
shit.
of 1.5s, what do you guys think about Jaeger getting the 1.5 on the 416? Because that's an interesting change.
Wait,
Yeah, he
what?
got it. Jaeger got the one. He got the
Woo,
1.5 on the 416.
we cooking, baby. Okay, that's what's up. Yeah,
Of course.
Elo up. That being said, well, sorry, Sod, forgive me, but I think it's a good way to counteract like the I mean, because like realistically, this nerf to Jaeger is a pretty big nerf, right? You're required to be much smarter with your placements. It's going to make you stack your ADSs and concentrated points more often than not. So I think that it's a good thing for Jaeger. That being said, I could see them very quickly reverting it based on how many Bikini Body fans bitch about it.
Yeah.
Shut up. Stop talking.
Not at all biased here, Sod.
Wait, wait,
Um,
Stick. Stick, you know
sure.
what you
What?
were you know how you're just talking about those weird DMs?
Yes.
Look at this.
Oh, it's the same. No, that's the same one I
Ah, it's
got.
just
Yeah,
nice.
with all the
Okay.
emojis. Yeah, that's a fun one. One other thing, this hasn't been confirmed yet, but I've heard a rumor that you are able to kind of ADS trick like you used to do on the console at Yellow Stairs, where you kind of keep one in the pocket, you put it down. There's like that whole rotation
Uh
idea. I've heard you can do that to reset the cooldown on the
re-
ADSs, which is obviously 10 seconds is pretty long, so you can kind of like fiddle around with that. It hasn't been confirmed yet, so obviously take that with a grain of salt. But if they have added it, I'm a really big fan, because skill-based mechanics like that are something I think Siege definitely could do with more of.
I
Right.
yeah. I could also see the concept of juggling your ADSs in a sense, as in
Yeah.
one gets its shit popped and then you place it sequentially in accordance with the cooldown timer, so you have them
Hmm.
constantly like 3 seconds away from each other in terms of a denial. Obviously, those can be reset only whenever they actually pop off. So obviously, that's not going to work exactly how I thought it would. But either way, I think I think that Jaeger is going to be. I mean, I still think he's probably going to be picked just as often, realistically. I mean, we'll see it die down a little bit, but yes, and they took away his shield.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, they took away his
Another
shield.
another unconfirmed thing. I heard that Wamai is getting impacts in place of
Yes,
his
he
shield.
is. He is.
Which is interesting considering the changes of Hibana. Something else we can discuss. The thing about Hibana and the new setup that she's got that I really like is kind of the almost the economy aspect of the X-Kairos pellets. Now that you have 18 and you kind of have more autonomy in where you're detonating them, you don't just have to completely separate and use them, 3 for 3 on whichever surface. You can kind of set, a few here, a few there, and with the change, if you want to be risky, if you want to just use 4, being, you do the math, 4 is enough to open a hatch. So now technically Hibana can open 4 hatches, which is almost unheard of for a single hard breacher.
It's also going to be interesting to see it in accordance with sites like a gym on Clubhouse. You very often see like you pretty much have to hold cache side unless you're trying to lose, right? And
Right.
obviously, the most common way to counter that is people will stick Hubon over there, get feed holes low enough so you can't impact trick it. Now it means that you're going to be able to better conserve those pellets, because if you do it right now, it'll very generally be able to get the top 3. But now if you just stick 2 or maybe 4 on the very bottom, I don't know, it's going to be the economy aspect. I feel is going to open up a lot of smart play, and you're going to see a lot more
Right.
Hibana in comp in general, and I think that's very healthy for the game, because right now she's in
Yeah.
a weird spot because Ace is just better in most
Right.
other than
Yeah.
hatches.
Yeah. That's an interesting concept. You need so much to deny that. Yeah, it's just impossible.
And
Um,
even then, that's utility that you could use to deny the church wall with an impact trig, right? Like that's
yeah. I'm gonna be honest here. You're not winning Church and Arsenal playing 10 impacts. I just
watch
unfortunately
me.
don't see a situation where that would be possible. The
If
one
you
thing
got the gunny,
you mentioned the fact that Ace was just before this patch, he's just infinitely better than Habana. There's no reason really why not to bring the Ace. And I like the fact that this kind of separates the hard breaching role. Ace is really versatile in terms of like the size of what he can open. Um, I think he opens something like 30% more than your Thermite would be able to open up, but he's obviously more restricted in opening the hatches, which seems like Habana's role now with this new change. Right.
yeah, or you can just be smart and bring the Mav, which is arguably the most
Yeah. Just do
versatile hard breach in
everything.
the game, right? It's just a bit
Mhm.
slower, but I mean that's a consequence of having an uncounterable hard breach, or sorry, utility based counter.
Right.
I mean, I guess you could
Um,
nitro him, but yeah.
Hopefully this makes maps that are incredibly hatch focused, like Clubhouse, in some respects like Cafe, a little bit more easy to play on when you have a Mav ban. Because now you have the opportunity to, in combo, bring your Habana if you're focusing on getting those hatches open, as well as whatever your more conventional hard breach is, whether that's Thermite or Ace.
I also think that it wouldn't be unlikely to start seeing. I mean, we already do see it in like higher T3 comp, T2 and up. Like you see hard breach bans, like double hard breach bans or just straight up hard breach bans, like with the Maverick. Like that's very standard. But I think we'll start seeing more like Habana and Thermite bans higher up, just
Yeah.
because like now it's going to be really realistically, you're pretty much always going to be getting something open.
Yeah.
It's not going to be impossible. Like no more being stupid and not banning Kaid. Like you're gonna open a wall no matter what. So I think that's
Yeah.
gonna bring.
Okay.
I feel
I
like it
think the
takes out
game's
some of
just
the
gonna be in a better
guesswork.
spot. Yeah.
Um, Looking at my notes, I'm trying to figure out what else I really enjoyed. Ultimately, I think this update is largely a huge W, if I may word it like that. There's nothing that I think is egregious or that I would um, do differently. One of those little minor kind of quality of life things is the fact that reinforcements now they're
Faster.
doubly fast. They're 2.5
Oh my
seconds.
god.
I think it was
according to
4.
the math that I did. Is it 4?
I
I
Because
watched
thought
it and I thought it was
well, I watched a
Oh.
video and he was able to get down to basically in the span of one standard,
think it
maybe
was
with
that
a bit of
fast.
overlap. So I think it might be like 3.5, 3,
Yeah.
something like that. I
Something
think
like
it's somewhere
that.
in between.
Also,
But
this
either
type
way,
of game-
It's so I don't really like see a reason why not. Like, yes, maybe there's like once in a blue moon where it like loses you out on the possibility to get like a I don't know like what an elbow
some free
freebie.
frac.
Yeah. And it just feels like I don't know. It doesn't I don't see a situation where the impact is larger than the benefit. Large. And plus you're able to move faster in your prep setup. You're not so
Yeah.
concerned about, all of those issues. One thing that I would need to see is hatches, if those are the same.
Oh,
Because
that's good
obviously
thing to
there
know.
there are some issues if you fail to reinforce a hatch and you have to like go up at the the last 5 seconds of the round. There's that risk factor, and so I
No,
guess that is one more impact to look at.
that's a communication fault, though.
Yeah,
That's not the
I don't think
dev's
UB
bad.
really
That's
thought
your
about
bad.
that. Yeah, just don't forget. Don't forget.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, yep, all those Plat 3 warlords better not forget to reinforce the hatches finally, right?
Mm-hmm.
God forbid.
There's also that change to Echo, which pretty much makes it so that you're either
Yeah.
keeping them in your pocket or hiding them under some random ass table before you
Yeah.
decide to play.
Yeah. Just pull
Nah.
pull out the drawer, just set the drone in there and close it until you need it. Yeah.
You should have seen it last night, Sod. We played 2 Outback matches in ranked, and
I
I
played an
found a
Outback yesterday.
goated Echo Cam spot where you don't even need the fucker to be invisible. It's so good. Anyway,
Oh, on
That's something for a
Canal,
different
I
day.
have one where if you put it on the lights, in the upstairs site, there's the lights around the
yeah, the hang ones.
Yeah, if
you
you
put it
put-
up there, and it's like nice.
they're like so bright you can't even see through them.
I do think though, this obviously impacts Echo a fuck ton.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think
Yeah.
we're gonna see as many Echo bans. Obviously his role is plant denial. I mean, that's what it's been for ages now. Universally, like, you pick an Echo if you plan on having a last second push from the attackers, or even if they get on site, just that little bit of time denial, get your people back to site and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that it really puts Echo in egregious spot. I think it's going to be very questionable how much you see him in play. That being said, he does have the shield now.
Right.
They gave him the shield back. But with the Jaeger nerf and Wamai losing his shield as well, I think it honestly balances out. You might see people pick the Echo for the shield, and even if his gadget isn't as great, like, it's still got a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
The MP5 SD is, I mean, it's an MP5. Shoot people in the head with it. It's not bad.
Right.
Um,
So, like, the whole idea of this patch is really just about kind of trying to make sure there's no more issues with the defenders just being outright better.
I think it's a lot of frustration that they're addressing this season.
Yeah.
the game itself is going to be
I
a
see
lot
that.
smoother.
There's also that Bino was asked about the run out time going from what is it? It's like 4 seconds now or 5.
It was 3, and now
it's 3, okay.
it's going to be 1 second
Yeah.
next patch.
It's
Yeah,
Mm.
that's a lot, man. That's
It is.
you're taking it down. I really don't think that it's a bad thing. Realistically, I don't think the game should be as hyper aggro as it is. That, and with the servers the way they are, I think we can all say that we've experienced people running out and either being detected a little too quick or a little too late for our liking.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely know what you're talking about
yesterday.
Yeah, fuck
Yesterday I was
that.
playing a ranked match and not on border, and it was a rook. On
Yeah,
CC.
no, and his fat ass is all the way outside. He doesn't get detected.
So
He cracks
like
your
all
ass.
the way back, like back on where the break room door is. I was like against that wall at the corner, where like so like at the 90, right? He runs out
motherfucker's
CC
gonna pull
door.
out the
He's
blueprints.
all the way outside by me and kills me before he even gets detected.
So he
know
runs
what?
out east stairs? Is that
No,
what you're
no,
talking
he
about?
ran out. No. He ran out CC door, and ran all the way across the balcony and killed me before he even got he got detected like the last like half second before I died, and I couldn't get off my camp.
Win
fast
your
enough.
ones, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Unlucky.
but I think
That
that,
won't happen
honestly, a bigger and greater solution to that, something that they haven't addressed, which they should have by now. You don't have to make it 1 second if your servers fucking work. The servers are absolutely terrible.
Okay, but also
Oh my god!
the servers
Like, I
suck.
believe they moved to Amazon servers, right? And I believe they went down to like a I don't
5
even
tick.
remember what tick rate. We're at like 28 tick or some shit. Like, at least CS:GO is managing 64, and even then, their servers fucking suck
I
too.
think
Don't even get me
CS
started on
CS
that.
is releasing this week or something 128 ticks. I think it was this week they're releasing 128 for public servers.
That's a
Yeah.
fat fucking pog. Holy shit. But anyway, like, Siege, y'all need to get your servers in check. A game this complex needs good servers to ride on to function smoothly. Especially with how already buggy it is.
Yeah. One potential solution that I would look at for the servers, and I am not really an IT or a tech guy in the servers aspect, so I have no idea how this would work, but in the way that Battlefield 4, you can buy your own servers to host. Say you want to host like a specific game mode or something like that, you can host up your own servers and the rules are yours to set. I would like to see something like that added to Siege. You know, maybe your team captain on your team, say, you know, you guys are really committed, he's going to buy you like a 128 tick server to play your scrims on. One potential issue, though, I could see with that is the inconsistency of the servers. You know, you scrim on 128 tick, but now you're on game day, and maybe it's back to the 28 ticks or whatever the current standard is. I guess that would make kind of a weird inconsistency. I just feel like there should be an option, but yeah, the server's definitely something UB needs to look at down the road. I haven't actually been playing Siege very much recently, so luckily I haven't had to deal with that. I don't blame you. All too often.
The solution is swinging.
Solution is swinging. I mean, just win your ones, take your engagements. Don't leave the randomness up to Siege, I guess.
Yeah, that's facts. I think it kind of takes away and like lessens the threat, or like not even the threat, like the idiocy of just taking one-on-ones and 50-50ing with the 1 second run out too. Because so many people will just take a 50-50 and just run outside because...
Yeah, they just take their 1-for-1s and then achieve basically nothing with their play.
That's not what Siege is supposed to be about for me.
Yeah.
You know, like,
well, it's supposed to be about smart decision-making. But...
Smart decision-making, yeah. So, you know, maybe you've got a Valkyrie cam and maybe you're, I don't know, the opponents aren't too aware of that and you're getting
like playoff info, but like, I don't know, dude. There's some fucking people.
I think with this Aruni... and with Jaeger being changed, and with just all around the overall meta changes that they're doing, it's forcing you to be more coordinated and play the game the way they want you to play it, which is like a more structured version of a shooter.
Something to note, like, we have been talking about the new season for a while now, and I'm not against that. That being said, we should probably get on to actually talking about Sticula and the reason why we have him here, right? But before we get on to that, just one more thing to add. Ashe getting 3 breach rounds and losing her flashes. That's going to be fucking fun.
Yeah, that is fun. The thing I like about that is the devs are kind of realizing that Ashe is moving into that support role. Just because her utility is so important. And maybe that's less so now as we move away from the 20-second meta and into, you know, the new vision of Siege. But I think still having those 3 is definitely pretty important, and it's a welcome change for me. Another thing about the flashbangs is the fact that Twitch is picking them up, which I think does help Twitch maybe to be a bit more viable. And the frag trade-off now that Dokkaebi has them. So I think that does help to address the fact that Twitch and... Yeah, Dokka's frags.
Again?
Yeah, they couldn't decide.
They can't make up their mind. It's back and forth.
They took him off Zero, gave him a hard breach charge instead. I think that's going to change the gameplay of Zero a lot. I don't think he's in a bad spot per se, but I don't think people use him to his full potential.
I'm going to list this off. Echo has his shield back. Valk and Wamai lose their shields. Wamai loses 1 magnet. Now he has 4. So, slightly better than Jaeger, I guess.
Yes.
But not even, because Jaeger's infinite, so I don't even know.
It's depending on what you're trying to do with it. And before you continue, there was one more tangent I wanted to go off on, and that's the extension style of play that T3 comp has been moving into, specifically now with the changes being made to Jaeger, in that he's kind of more of a place and kind of weight style of operator, and with Wamai losing 1 of his magnets, moving down to 4, I wonder how that's going to affect some of the, you know, crucial angles where you would extend to, like on Cafe Pixel Spot. That's important.
Yep.
I think we'll see a lot more of just site focused play from defenders now instead of.
I mean, I would also argue though that with Aruni being in, and then the reinforcement, you know, it takes less time now, right? Like I also think there's a lot more room for extended play, but it's gonna have to be well thought out
It's
and
gonna have
methodical.
probably more committed.
Yeah, it's gonna be much. Much more committed, and it's not gonna be as freestyle. Like it's gonna be, you're gonna have to write it down. You're gonna have to dry run it, play it a certain way. God forbid
Yeah.
these roaming clash strats come back.
Oh no.
Theme park, dude.
And we were talking about the Ashe flashbangs. Forcing Ashe to bring breaching charges will kind of force her to be a little more like Zofia. If you think about it. Well,
I was told that Ashe has Claymore and the hard breaching gadget.
oh, she lost her breaches too?
No, I didn't.
Is that wrong?
Sorry. We don't have actual information right now. Patch notes come out tomorrow. We'll
This
be able
says
to
she
double
has
check all this
Claymore
then.
instead of flashes. I'm looking
Yeah,
at the
it says she has
CGG
Claymore
article.
and
Okay, so yeah, okay, that maybe just got lost in translation. Because if she had hard breach, I mean, she would just be like the ultimate support op, really.
Yes.
It's fucked up that she is support, but
Yeah.
what do you get? What are you
No
getting?
more Shaiko joystick fragger Ashe mains in comp, I guess. Which is
I mean,
another change that
with-
I'm not totally against.
With less of a need for flashbangs with the Jaeger and Wamai changes, maybe she'll play more of a fragger role. Who knows?
I could see that maybe.
I mean, she does have
You're
three
not so worried about it,
explosives,
right?
But like, you're less worried about losing the ADS, the ability to clear an ADS now. So, who knows?
Mm-hmm. So what would you what's the need for the third soft breach for the Ashe breaching round? Because
I
now
don't
you
know,
don't have to
breaking more
carry-
shit.
I
There's
think-
still a ton of bulletproof utility.
Yeah, because you do
Yeah.
have wubs, you have evil eyes, you have
Bubble
shields,
Ups, Evil Eyes.
you
Uh-huh.
have
Okay.
like all of these bulletproof gadgets that like even cameras sometimes like not really you're not really going to use one on a camera most of the time, but sometimes you do. And I think giving her that extra one also makes it so she can burn in a Rooney too, because she doesn't have the flashbangs.
Right.
I think they kind of
yeah.
kept that in mind when they were rebuilding Ashe.
All right. I think. Forgive
We've
me.
exhausted this.
I'm
issue.
gonna take the reins for a bit. I think it's time we kind of get off the new season. We've been riding it for a little bit. There's probably some stuff we missed, but we could talk about it for hours. Stick. T3 caster. You've been doing this for a year and a half. You said. Wait, 15 months. 15 months. So that's a year and a quarter. Okay, sorry. Almost had it. But so where'd you start off? How'd you get into it? What made you decide to get into it?
Okay, so good that I was thinking about this recently. Initially, I got into casting because I played on a very terrible competitive PS4 team, and people probably
Nice.
don't even know that PS4 has competitive Beyond Go 4s.
Oh no,
and
it does.
It does, and it probably
To a
shouldn't
point.
because a lot of the leagues there are not the best. But yeah, so I started off playing. I was a sub on our roster, so I obviously wasn't always playing. And I kind of transitioned from being the player that was on, like the unlisted stream, like watching what everyone was doing. And that moved into me wanting to observe the matches, so I could like move around on my own as a free spectator and kind of see everything from the bird's eye view. And then I started to introduce some commentary. Like I would give my thoughts. I would, talk about everything that's going on. And eventually that led for me to an opportunity to cast at one of the leagues that I was playing in. This league was known as the Console Esports League, CEL. I casted pretty infrequently for them. I probably only did 4 or 5 casts, but being that on PC, casters are in short supply, you can imagine that it's even more so over on PS4, and so immediately almost I got recruited to cast for another one of these PS4 T500 leagues. That was Collective Esports.
Yeah, no, actually, I think they have don't they have a PC league as well?
They have a PC league, and that's another part of the story. That's how I got introduced to PC. So I casted their PS4 league for a while. My biggest gig for them being their best of 5 grand finals. Don't ask me what season it was. I do not have any memory.
I'm sure they don't even remember, man.
Yeah, but anyway, so after working at Collective on their PS4 division, I was really enjoying casting, and I wanted to get better at it and obviously get more viewership, and so I approached their PC league and got an opportunity over there. And casting at the PC league was almost a whole different world, because on PS4, I was doing everything. I was streaming the matches to Twitch, I was observing, and I was the only caster. But on PC, there is obviously your broadcast team, which is your co-caster, your observer, and in some cases, your producer. And so that was just a totally different ballpark in terms of production. It was kind of a difficult learning experience for me. I know a lot of casters early on in their careers will struggle with the kind of cooperation aspect. Working with another co-caster, it can be kind of a touchy thing to get used to, and obviously you'll know that the more well-oriented you get with a particular caster, usually the better your cast will tend to go. And so I worked at Collective for a while. I did a big amount of casts for them, and I was still working for free at this point. I think I did maybe somewhere around 17 or 18 casts, and this is where some of the leagues you'll definitely know come into perspective. The first opportunity I got was to work at Siege Cardinal League for their third season. Yeah. And this was huge because SCL, I mean, they were paying, they had already established talent, you know, casters who knew what they were doing. One little sidetrack here. I would be a terrible caster today without my mentors, and I have to give them some of the credit. Jesse J. Chick really helped me out with my transitioning, and working with other casters cooperatively. He taught me, you know, how to share the mic.
He has come so far, dude.
He has. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, he's just he grinds a ton, and he's finally gotten his opportunity these last few months to work up in NAL. But Jesse gave me not only the cooperation aspect, but a lot of the fundamentals. Another one of the mentors key to building my casting talent was Redcube. And Redcube helped me defeat issues that I had with confidence, which is huge for your casting. If you're not confident in what you're saying, it's really easy to tell as a viewer from what I've seen.
Just from the timbre of your voice. And
right, yeah. And there's really... you kind of need to go into a cast feeling confident in order for it to be successful. And Redcube helped me in sharing his personal experiences and some strategies that he used. One of those being to research into your team, so you know, like, how they play, you know, sort of what to expect, their histories, things that you can mention. And if you're a team captain in T3, you'll know that I always reach out. I want to get the full scoop and to basically run what is effectively an interview and talk to the team so I know what to expect and I can cast them to my best extent possible. Moving on from SCL, it gets kind of muddy because there's just so many leagues and I've kind of been able to move pretty quickly. Thinking about the timeline, I've got my notes over here offhand. I started working for SCL on March 16th, 2020. I casted for them pretty exclusively. For probably about 5 months.
So March of this year?
Yes, March of this year.
So right before the outbreak.
Yeah.
He's been able to grind the casting ever since.
I know, I don't have to go anywhere. I just get to cast all day.
Spent 8 months in my home.
So I think the first big league I got an opportunity at afterwards with SCL was ESA. Originally, the way that I got in at ESA, they were hiring new talents and they had me do a tryout for their tournament series, which
I remember when they were running those. It was like the weekly, like $50 entry tournaments, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that was a really interesting experience because it was one of my longest casts. Usually the longest that I would do is probably in the past was a best of 5, which usually goes, 4.5 hours, 5 at the most with amateur teams. this cast lasted from the rehearsal from when I joined until the end, and I left the voice call. I think it was just about 8 hours, which
Holy
is
shit,
so
man.
long. It was really long production. And one of the things I got to give ESA credit for, it was daunting at first to cast 2 best of 3s per night. And cast consistently every week, doing a day for 6 hours. It really helped me with my endurance. And I can just cast for so long now, and I would not have been able to do that without ESA. As I mentioned, after SCL, after ESA, it starts to get really blurry. I worked with EPS. That's obviously one of the biggest ones, as well as Collegiate R6, where I still work. Cheating a little bit here to look at my notes. Upsurge, and then we kind of move into the ones I do more currently, and that obviously is AEL, the Collegiate League, as well as I still am working at SCL. There's just the season is not started, and this is actually my 3rd season at SCL, so that's the longest I've been working at, just in total. But yeah, so it is AEL, SCL in the background-ish, Upsurge, SCS, and then Omega CL. So those are the main leagues. I guess way too many of them, but I just can't get enough action. But yeah, that's my story. I hope it wasn't too long and boring.
Nah, you're good, man. I've still got more questions and everything, so you're not done talking.
Throw them at me. I'd love to. I'd love to respond.
Obviously, like, for anyone watching this, if you're interested in casting or anything, like, I mean, that's what the episode was originally supposed to be about. We went off on a tangent about the new season. It is what it is. What would you say some important points to being a caster are?
Obviously there's your fundamentals. One big thing that casters, I think, struggle with is your pacing and your tone. A lot of the hate that you see that goes to casters is those casters who, they have one tone. That's all they cast in, and because simply it comes off as really boring, and you don't want to do the opposite of that, which is everything is hype, because that gets old really quickly, and you kind of need to use a dynamic mix. So sometimes you want to be kind of slow and kind of pace out your words, and other times you want to get really excited and cast the action, make sure that the audience is really engaged with it. That's something to focus on. It can be kind of difficult to learn. You sort of just need to build up your experience in casting. There are some really common pitfalls that I see a lot of new casters doing, and that seems to crop up the most in your transitions with a caster. For casters in the business, this is a little piece of jargon. When you transition your cast, or you give it over to your co-caster, that's called a throw. So you throw the cast to them. And a lot of casters make some of these big mistakes when they throw the cast. So this is things like using really bland transition words. These main ones you'll see are absolutely, definitely, indeed. They just are easy. They come to mind quickly, and it really can degrade the cast. Another thing which is really will come up and immediately people will recognize it, and that's if you repeat almost exactly what your co-caster says. I don't know what happens or how people kind of get into this, because I never experienced it myself, but it's really easy to tell, and it's easy to fix. I'm sure
that's a confidence issue, though.
It is definitely the confidence thing. But in looking at those all really stem from a major kind of difference in, I would say, kind of the casting strategy. And that's in a transition. I prefer one of two things. Either you use evidence and your experience to back up my thought or add something else onto it, or you completely ignore it and come up with your own point. When you try to do something that's a mix of the two, oftentimes it really can muddy the other caster's thought, and it doesn't come across really well. It's hard to have a conversation when it's only structured around one person. I think you can do it cooperatively in talking about one person's thought, but a cast needs to have a little bit of separation. Some of the other issues, obviously confidence. Confidence as you move up in a caster, in casting will become one of the larger issues that you have to face. You kind of just need to accept it. And maybe apply some of those strategies I talked about to research, to look into the teams that you're casting. It can be kind of a time sink, but just look up, talk to the team captains. I'm sure they'll be helpful to give you that info. Just ask if you guys won any tournaments. I mean, that's huge. Maybe they're the reigning champions of a league. You're definitely going to want to cast that, especially if it's an important game. Storylines are huge. It can be kind of hard when you cast a team for the first time, but as you get experience and cast the same teams repeatedly, that gets easier, and you can talk about the evolution a team has made. I think that's the majority of the new advice that I would give to casters. Always reach out to your co-casters to ask for feedback, because as a viewer, when you're watching a cast, you can sometimes see the issues that crop up, but your co-caster can see them so clearly, and they will be more than happy. Everyone in the Siege T3 production community is so open and will always give you constructive criticism and feedback. That's one of the big things. Use your resources. Reach out to other people in the community. Maybe not everyone is open, but just say, reach out on Twitter and say, can I ask you about your experience? Can I get some advice on things? And generally people are open, because that's it's a fun experience to give advice and to help someone out.
I think we need a bit more of that in Siege and T3 in general, though, because a lot of us are very stuck up, you could put it.
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
Sod, you got anything? You got any questions? Because I got shit.
Of course you got shit. But
I always do.
One of my questions for this is just for any caster in general is, how do you just prep learning the game? Do you go in and play it for yourself? Do you just learn call outs? Do you learn play styles? What are you doing to prep to understand and do the analysis that casters do?
That's a tough question, because it's really overarching, and it's definitely a good question. One of the things that's helped me a lot is, even though I did play on PS4 competitively, so it's not the most applicable, I think it does give you some experience. You understand what it's like to play on a competitive team, and that has helped me out a lot. Understanding how a team works and how you structure yourself around an IGL. As well as things like the pace of the game, the tilt factor, which is not always the most easy thing to identify. Prep and game knowledge is big. Just playing the game, having experience. I've played since the beta, so I've just been kind of around for a while. Callouts are something that I actively go out to learn, and I ask people, what their callouts are. I try to figure out what the consensus is, because as a caster, you want to use the call out that, the most people will understand. But you want to be careful not to use too many, what I would say are comp call outs. A comp call out is basically, one that's supposed to be fast. It's supposed to be quick so that you can communicate swiftly and you're not getting, tied up in your communication. But as a caster, you need to be a little bit more eloquent, and sometimes that means using the compass call out in Siege for what the room name is, or maybe there's a more traditional call out. I always try to learn call outs if I don't know what an area is. You don't always need to directly call something out. You can talk about kind of the motion the team is taking. That's something that Ferme at SCS has taught me in my casting if I don't know what a callout is. One thing that I did early on in my casting is I printed out the blueprints for all the Siege maps, and I went and penciled in all the callouts I knew until I could get full maps of all the callouts, it's some good game knowledge stuff. I have the maps with me.
Show them off.
Elias, you need to force, if you go back into comp, you need to force your future teammates to do that. Just write them down.
Yeah, I'm making an LFT post later this week. I got my sound back. I can fucking function. I've been frying lately.
Ooh.
What I've got.
Oh, that's complicated. Oh, that's
It
Clubhouse.
is.
No, that's respect
is.
though, and that's fucking work, and people got to learn about that shit because a lot of people like to glide by and take the easy way when it's that kind of. It's the little stuff that counts.
What do you call
Especially
when
Swamp
far
on
success
Clubhouse?
I just call it Swamp.
You call it Swamp? Okay, cool.
Swamp's a fun
Yeah.
call.
Do you
What are some
coordinate
other
with your
fun-
co-casters? Well, answer his question first, then we can answer mine.
What
No,
was the
no,
question?
mine is just stupid. No,
What
go
are
to
some
his.
fun call-outs? No, I'm actually interested.
Okay.
Fun call-outs,
Fun
yeah.
call-outs. Banana on Consulate. Zombie
Banana
on
on
Villa.
Bank too.
What's
Banana
Zombie
on
on
Bank,
Villa.
too.
Okay, no, I haven't heard that
What
one.
is zombie?
Yeah.
Zombie is so your aviator door. It's not the one that goes into study. It's just outside
Oh, bones.
before
I
Red
call-
Landing.
Arches.
Yeah, arches.
Bones.
So like
Yeah.
Call
landing,
that zombie.
like right after landing.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
basically that.
Okay, yeah, no, where the like.
That's
red
where the
windows-
statue is, right? Like the half statue.
Yeah, the statue. That's why it's called Zombie.
Okay.
I'm gonna look at
so
my
dumb.
see if I have any other ones.
Fucking crazy.
I have a really weird one. This doesn't come up in my cast because I didn't really cast
Because no one's
all
gonna
that-
fucking know what I'm guessing.
No, that and because I never really casted when Bank was in the rotation.
Yeah.
At the bottom of the main stairs before you go like to turn the corner that goes into the garage, I call that Elvis. Which is just it's a fun call.
Okay.
I made it up as a joke. We would just kind of try to troll and casual by giving these just completely bizarre and fake call outs like, you know, one guy's on hippopotamus, like, go kill him, what are you doing? It's like stuff like this. And the Elvis one, it really caught on. And so I'll use that sometimes if I'm playing casual or what have you.
I've been playing Rogue with the
solid.
same group of people for like 2 years, and we have the dumbest callouts for so many different things. Like some of them, I just oh my god, we're idiots. So
Are you familiar? Are you familiar with Pepper on Cafe?
oh yes,
I haven't heard that one.
Pepper.
It was our old
Pepper
team's
is
joke.
a throwback to when we played under Black Mamba. We were playing some shitty like ranked match on our alts and like gold elo. Me, Lethal. I think Saw you were with us too, right? It's so you know the garage, right? But
Mhm.
you know how a lot of people like to prone in the very back of it for like some dumbass spawn
To
peek
like
catch
look
some
under the
repelling.
barricade.
In the very back corner of it, they'll prone under that. We call that Pepper because a legendary player by the name of WB Pepper fucking smoked Cole while he was rappelling up. And ever since, we've been calling that Pepper. And I love it. I love that call out to death.
Every game we played on Clubhouse, he would spawn Park and check Pepper every single game, no matter what we were doing. He would check Pepper and make sure no.
Yeah,
one was
no,
there.
we would pre-fire
Yeah.
Pepper never again. I got hit by it the other day, actually, and I fucking cried. I was so mad.
No, the one time you don't check it.
Yeah, no, I got hit
that's
with the
when
pepper.
that's
I
when it
fucking
comes up.
slammed my.
I have
But,
it's weird. I have almost an exact same experience. It's in Garage on Oregon. It's like when you go in through the garage door, directly to the right, there's like that little corner you can hide in. Got killed by somebody from there once. It really did not make me very happy, and so I'll always just wall bang to see if anyone is there in the little corner.
I was playing
and
ca-
nobody hides there,
I
but
was playing casual on Oregon yesterday, and there was a Cav who shotgun opened a piece of the hatch, and she had her little pistol out and was leaning and was looking at the door, looking through the hatch at the door, and she smoked me, and she said, "Wow, know where you're plat 1. How are you doing? You're so bad."
oh, you just got destroyed.
Ranked
Oh,
is
that
By a
was
silver
unfortunate.
in casual is all pain.
So- Now that was fun. Stick. Who have so obviously you've got like a variety of leagues that you've seen people compete in. You've got arguably one of the best leagues in T3 right now, SCS. Like I think quite frankly, production wise, they're definitely up there. Definitely in the top 4 leagues. Who have some of your favorite teams to cast been? Are there any matches that come to mind that you've really enjoyed casting?
So matches, I don't think I have too many.
I mean, it's T3. I didn't expect that.
I
didn't
have
expect too
one
much.
though specifically, just because of the nature of the cast. It was the last game for the SCL Season 4 regular season, I think it was Akara Gaming versus Troll Team 6. And we did a TriCast. It was me, and it was Chief, and it was Blue Panda, and so we did a TriCast, and we just kind of had a lot of fun.
Blue Panda's the A and Z caster, right?
Yeah. Blue Panda is just a goat all around. As far as teams, gonna try to avoid some of the more controversial ones.
Yeah.
Coming to mind. Oh, that's.
I mean,
that's
we don't care about controversy here. Just.
I like Lycus Empire. Defiance is
current or
really
okay, current.
The current one. Toyota Camry is a fun team as well, but I haven't really casted them all too much. But yeah, Lycus Empire. I've casted Defiance for a long time in his career. In Control Nation, all of their rosters. The one they have currently, the one they had about 3 months ago, and even the one before that. The Homeland roster. In its many iterations originating from HLA. Valkyrie is a fun team as well. I really like JJ. He's got kind of an attitude going on.
Deputy, yeah.
The deputy. I vibe with that.
With it. Yeah.
JJ is a cool guy. The old HNC roster that had Eric and his Steam. That was a fun team. I could go on ad nauseum in this list, but those are the big ones that come to mind. Versity is a fun team as well. Joe Academy.
Or Team DGen now, right?
Yeah, Team DGen now.
Yeah, I heard Notsaw talk about that the other day, and I think it was on Skittles stream, and they were he's man, the branding fucking sucks. Team DGen Mafia, and I'm like, dude, I'm not gonna argue with that. There, like. Some orgs, man, like, pick a better fucking name.
Yeah.
No shade, though, obviously, right?
List.
But, something to add on, by the way, like, anyone trying to be a caster, for the love of God, be articulate. Like, don't use just, like, entry-level, like, 5th grader vocab, man. Like,
vocab is big.
It is.
Vocab, I feel like when I'm not confident in my casting, my vocab suffers, which is really frustrating. And I repeat a lot of the words. For any casters that are starting to get developed, if you find yourself repeating words, make like a list and try to memorize them. Unfortunately, because I cast so much and then, mixing with school, obviously, I don't have as much of an opportunity to like go back and VOD review my casting as I used to when I worked for just one league. But as you are in an entry level as a caster, that's something you should definitely do. Go back and rewatch your cast, because you're your biggest, you're your own biggest critic, and you'll make sure you know every single little mistake, and you can work to whittle some of those down. Don't beat yourself up too much over it. There are some constants in casting that you just cannot defeat. Another thing for new casters, sometimes it is important to respond to community feedback. It's really weird. Sometimes you get really good feedback and you get a really enjoyable crowd that likes your casting. Other times it's the opposite. And so I would say take every bit of feedback you get from your community with a grain of salt. But the feedback you get from your coworkers, definitely you want to listen to that, especially the old timers as well, the casters who have been around for a long time, because they'll know how to set you on the right track.
Are there any casters currently in T3, or even like ones that have moved up? Like Crow, like he's doing a great job up in T2 now. Right? Are there any casters you'd really like to give a shout out to, or just like that you'd really credit with something?
And on that, is there anyone you consider to be like your casting duo or something?
So Sod, I'll answer your question second, because to respond and give credit to all the casters would be nearly impossible because there's so many, and it would probably whittle it down. If there is any one caster to be my duo, it's probably... It breaks my heart to choose between Chief and Slay, because they're both incredibly talented, and
I love both of them, man.
Slay I've casted with for so long, and Chief, I'm his mentor. So I have to choose between them. Me and Slay work really well together, and Chief casts almost the exact same as me because I've taught him everything. If I had to choose one to go up to CL with me, I would probably say Slay, because Slay enables me to be my best caster, and all of my casts with Slay are completely resounding successes. I totally lost track. Sod, what was the rest of your question?
Oh, that was my question.
Yeah, that
Okay,
was his question. Nice.
Got it. Okay, we
I mean,
got it
you
there.
basically answered my question at the same time
Okay.
too, right? So you knocked
Good.
2 birds with 1 stone. That's always a good one.
Yeah. If I had to make like give credit to my casters, I have a whole list.
So
somewhere
thank you,
find-
T3 casters. There you go.
Yes, thank you, T3 casters. I'll run through. I don't like making lists. I made a list of comp players that I was a fan of one time, and it blew up. Did not go anywhere in my favor, so I avoid making these lists. But
Well, I don't
some
expect
of
you
my-
to rate people.
no rating. Some of the best casters I've worked with, though, I'll rattle down the line here. Jazzman, Lynx, Keglanek, Seed Apps, Slay, obviously, Blue Panda, McCready, Santos, a little bit, and then lastly, Chief. Last, but definitely not least for Chief.
Anything like that on side?
On casters, I'm good. On top of, do you have any more questions? Not just like other caster related, but specifically for Sticula.
I'm fucking stupid, Sod. Did you really expect like a legitimate answer to that? I got the fucking brain like a rotting cabbage.
That's my bad.
I used all my brain
Okay,
power
I
in
actually
the
want
cast,
to.
man.
I want to hear your thoughts, Sticula, on the difference between the casting in the NAL versus the EUL, because a lot of people hear you hear a lot of complaints about how the EUL is really monotonous and boring, and like these really intense situations with these really really top level teams are just like bogged down by the level of the casting, because they give a lot of just like entry level they're not entry, but like a lot of casters who haven't been T1 for a while a shot in the UL, while in the NAL we have 4 casters who arguably have a ton of experience between Kixen and Taro, the longest established casting duo, and Blue and Stokes, people who did the USN, have done multiple majors, have done invitational. Like, there's a difference between experience, I guess.
There is, and I can definitely address that. Obviously, just from a base standpoint, over in the NAL, Kix, as well as Parker and Stokes and Blue, they have the experience, and that's what makes them good, as well as individually their casting.
I've got to take care of something.
You're good. But yeah, the experience is big. Working with a consistent caster pairing, I think that's what makes me and Slay go so well together, because me and Slay have casted close to probably the most casts of any T3 duo, I would say. Looking at the EU, though, I think they lack some of the feeder programs. And when we saw the ESL to FACEIT transition and the breakup of the Polish casting studio, they had to make a decision, right? Like, who's casting in Europe and who's casting in North America. And the major contributing issue is the fact that they have the EUL broadcast talent doing EUL plainly, EUCL, as well as APAC North, which, one, I think is way too many gigs per week for a caster to work. Yes, you can say, you're committed to the grind, or, all of that, and it just seems like too much for a caster. And I think if they were to split up the broadcast teams, that would make things easier, and they need to make sure that the EUCL does not have T1 broadcasting talent, because just as it is important for the T2 challenger teams to get their opportunity to prove themselves, to work on their skill, the same is true for broadcasting talent. And there are plenty of casters in the EU, in the UK, and France, all of the European countries who I think deserve a chance to work at a T2 broadcasting level. But because effectively the EU MENA team hogs up all the broadcasting slots in the T1 system, they don't have that opportunity. There's plenty of good casters. I mean, you take a look at the recent CCS EU talent. Those guys are all incredibly talented. And I understand what you mean when you talk about, there is a disagreement, and some people say that the EUL casters sometimes don't bring the hype when they need to. That's just something you have to build up with your experience. And because Kix and Intero, Stokes and Blue have that experience, they know how to bounce off of each other. And EUCL, I think, by the season 2 of the new Face It system, must have its own individual broadcasting team, because it's not really sustainable to have the same team doing 3 leagues.
So do you think like a system like the NAL where they will cast, the main team will cast Canada and cast the normal NAL matches, and then they bring in those T2 casters, like wait, did they discontinue that? I don't know. But like they bring in the T2 casters of the CL to go and broadcast them on their own.
Yeah, that's something that Europe definitely needs. And the issue is, over in Europe, it is increasingly difficult to get anywhere near a T2 casting job because of the aforementioned, the T1 crew does every single gig. And I don't know if that's maybe Face It in kind of response to the COVID thing, saying that they want, they want to have the European leagues, both T1, T2, as well as the APAC North, all casted out of the studio. And I think that does maybe answer some of the questions as for why in the current system. But there are so many really good casters over in Europe, and I think the concentration of broadcasting talent ultimately is of a higher skill in EU, that they need these opportunities. Casters like Demo, like Extroika. All of these casters should have a spot in T2, a consistent job in the industry, but unfortunately, because of the current setup, they are forced to work at leagues that do not, that simply cannot offer them the proper amount of compensation and cannot allow them to cast Siege as a profession.
I also disagree with the way APAC is run, where they're making the EU casters do it, and they're not giving a shot to actual APAC casters. The only one,
Exactly.
They gave Dev a shot, but that's moving Dev to EU, and then he's doing APAC on the side. Like the big casters in APAC who used to have a job when they did do it under ESL, have like kind of just like lost their shots.
Yeah. I got asked recently, it was on the topic of the whole EUL broadcast team debacle, and we were talking about the situation in APAC North, and as you mentioned, the fact that Oceanic casters don't get really many opportunities. And I think maybe they could see about having the team that does the current Oceanic National League maybe do some of the APAC North stuff, because the production level in the OCN is incredible. It's one of my favorites, totally away from even the casting talent, just the level of production, the producers, the replay operators, the talent that they have is outstanding, and I think they would be fully capable of operating a T1 broadcast for the APAC North League. There are a few casters who do some of the South Asia stuff, maybe giving them a shot to do like T2 events to build up their talent, so that eventually we have some kind of a consistent source of Oceanic talent. Because I said it earlier, on PC, in Siege generally, there is a lack of established and competent talent. There is probably in all of Siege maybe about 115 casters who are, who could perform effectively at a T2 level, and obviously the other talent upwards as well. but you lack some of these consistent starter programs
And support
and
systems, yeah.
support systems and routes for these casters. And that's not an issue that we see in some of the other esports. For example, in League of Legends, the South Korean League, the LCK, it has its own full English broadcast team. Commentators in Korea are recruited to work for this program. Some from other seas even move to Korea for an opportunity to cast in the LCK, and that's just not something that we have for Rainbow Six. Because of this current system, and because Ubisoft has only recently decided to give enough support to these leagues.
I think APAC all around is just lacking. Just in opportunities as just like teams for players and for like just overall it's lacking for casters and
well,
teams
I think
all
a
around.
huge portion of the issue that some of these smaller regions face, especially with like the Mexican division as well. Like, I know they don't get talked about too much, but like you got the Mexican division, obviously the Canadian division, the newest to all this. I feel like a huge portion of well, for APAC in specific, it's not as big an issue with the other two, but inter-regional play heavily, because you have scenes like NA and EU where people have been playing this game for years and it's already established, it's been developing for a while. But I really do think that inter-regional play helps improve teams so much more than just scrimming and playing the same 4 teams from your region constantly. Like, I think that these big lands, especially with SI, can you imagine how much of a learning experience that is for all those teams from around the world to go there and actively scrim against other play styles in regions and all of that? Like, I remember, I forget who it was. I forget the 2 teams it was, and forgive me for that, but it was an NA team. They were talking about scrimming this APAC team. And they were saying it was the wildest shit. It was unheard of, and it was an incredible learning experience. And I think that COVID is what's stopping that to a point.
I think,
but even then, just distance as well.
All G2 used to talk about whenever they went to invites or any tournament like LAN, their favorite team to scrim was Fnatic because they were never scared to scrim G2. They always wanted to fight against the best competition, and Fnatic also has that play style where it's like you always have to have your gun up and you always have to be
Oregon versus Oregon versus Continuum.
You always have to be ready against a team like Fnatic, and I think that's what makes it interesting because at least in America, we have the opportunity to play against the Canadians or play against the Mexicans because of our proximity to them. And regions like APAC, like they can't even scrim between Australia and Japan without having like 150 ping or something like that. Like, it's crazy.
No, it's probably even more, dude. Like, that's so fucking far.
Because Fnatic's been playing this entire season from Australia.
Yeah.
And their region
I
is
gotta
in
feel bad.
Japan. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah,
like, even APAC as a region is so big that they have struggles
huge.
even having their own one specific play style like we have here.
I mean, like, I mean this in like the least fucked up way possible, right? But like when half your region is spread out across literal islands, like, you kind of get fucked. Like, it happens just due to, topography and just the nature of the earth.
Move them all day.
That being said, as far as casting goes with these international matches, upcoming, if SI is a LAN with a, intercontinental play, I think that casting-wise, some of those matches are going to be fucking crazy.
I wish we could see SI go bigger than just the 20 teams. Like, something like as big as Worlds, or where, like, we see a whole ton of teams. Like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Like 40 teams from, like, the 10 best teams from each region just fighting it out.
With relation to Invite, one thing that I look forward to is the opportunity to cast the open qualifiers for the Six Invitational.
Are they still doing those?
Because I think it's undecided currently, but I would be really surprised to see Faceit not have this opportunity open.
Yeah, their first year in the scene, or like rather owning the scene.
And there's like I think they're starting to recognize, the issues with the with the lack of opportunities for casters. And I think they have at least recognized the issues with CL quals not having just not being able to cast the open qualifiers, and for the closed qualifiers, the existing Challenger League crew having to get express permission from both teams before they're allowed to cast them. I think it should be, frankly, for the closed qualifier, every match should be broadcasted, whether that's
no
by
team
the
should have a
FACEIT,
significant advantage.
whether that's by the FACEIT crew or that's by independent co-casters.
Like, I find that astonishing.
It is, yeah. And these are some of the crucial opportunities that casters in the past during the ESL days they had. But me, I've yet to have these opportunities, and it's really unfortunate to see the last season's CL qualifiers come and go with no opportunity for community casters. I reached out to everywhere on Twitter to try and figure out any info about these qualifiers, but there was nothing. And something I've done recently is I've been trying to build a established production team so that when the qualifiers roll around, I have my team. I know I've got the experience with them, and we're prepared to do the qualifiers. Already, my team has done 3 broadcasts. We did the only community broadcast for the CCS Season 5 qualifiers. I received a great opportunity from Rob Walker at CCS.
I think
he
I got
allowed
to
me
watch
to cast,
that, actually.
Which was huge for me, and I can't thank CCS enough for that opportunity. As well, recently, I had the opportunity to cast one of the qualifiers for the OCN relegations. So these community casts are a huge opportunity, and it would be really disappointing to see the invite quals, especially, but as well the CL quals, which are one of the big shots for community casters to, frankly, interact with the community and show their talent.
Stripes.
Yeah. We should get news on that soon. It's already
Hopefully.
November, so they usually announce it by December, I think. So we should be knowing soon.
And not to jump off on a tangent or anything, but relating to SI, obviously that's still pretty vague and unconfirmed. It's a little shrouded. But I think that if Siege really wants to expand, and this was brought up on the 6on6 podcast with Intero and Canadian, but you've got to get out of fucking Montreal during the winter.
Oh, it is. I went to SI. It is brutal. Like, there were over 100 people in front of us because waiting to just get inside, plus like another maybe 100 cuddled up by the metal detectors and everything.
Yeah, and then that's not counting the fact that like interregional, like there's gonna be people that aren't used to driving in like 2 feet of snow,
and then
right?
That on top of like just 0-degree weather is crazy.
And then booking flights from across the world, and then you've got oh my god, like you got to get out of Montreal if you can put it. Like, it doesn't even... It would probably be somewhere in NA, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's closer to their headquarters. You could probably structure it somewhere, like... I don't know. It's got to get out of Montreal, though.
It doesn't even have to be in NA. I'd like to see it just changing like our majors do and go to, like, the nice cities across the world. Like, you see one in Italy. You see one in France or in England. Like...
Would definitely be good for it. I think that's a financing issue more than anything, though.
I mean,
coordination as well.
It's an issue.
They are a multi-billion-dollar company.
But
I don't know what the fuck they're complaining about.
If they want to grow, just like their fan scene and like the access to the scene, that's something that they might want to invest in. Or even if they just keep it in America, don't go to random cities like Raleigh. Like, no one wants to go to North Carolina for a major.
I don't know. I feel like it would be difficult to change that because Montreal it's recognized as kind of the home of Siege, and the fact that the dev team is based out of Montreal, you can't really change that. I'm definitely excited for year 2 of this new system that we're under, and the fact that we'll have not only invite for
way more majors.
February, but the majors as well. 3 majors per year is huge. I think it's more opportunity for qualifiers, which is fun, and I won't turn those down.
There's one in every region, if I'm correct, right?
I think you're right on that. But yeah,
US
that's
majors.
important. U.S. majors, yeah. Yeah.
Siege is finally, in my opinion, like if they can continue. This new season hasn't even been released. Tessera isn't even up, right? But from a bird's eye view, just looking from what we have seen, if they can address the other issues like the servers and the cheaters, and then actually listen to people like they are based on what we've seen so far, and then with all this stuff with Faceit providing support and getting the game even bigger than it was before, I think Siege could definitely enter another quote unquote like little golden age. Like I think it could definitely spur and get even much bigger. And I want to see us back up as a T1 esport, right? I get we're T3 right now due to COVID and a bunch of other outlying factors. And the only reason we were T1 was because of the Invitational, right? But I would like to see us get up to that standard regardless of those big events. But that comes down to Siege being a hard game to understand from viewer perspective anyway. Anyone can watch CS.
So, do we want to address two of the more controversial issues that were posted by Sam earlier? Because I suppose I would be willing to give my opinion on those two.
Shit, we're running long as hell. Let's see. Roster move. I see. So obviously the EU. We'll strike. I don't know if one's controversial by any means, but yeah, the EU major finished up. Empire fucking smoked BDS.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just whipped lit him up like
Yeah,
a cigarette.
went
through him. That was
good timing to finish before we went live. We had
yeah, man.
That was
plenty of time.
It was basically just a sweet best of 3. If you
yeah, no, they played 2-0 BDS again. Like congrats.
I think Empire could probably keep this up, but at the same time, we saw them dominate Raleigh after getting a second place at Invite. They had a whole year of success, and then they just fell off the wagon.
Yeah, I would be hesitant. I know there's a lot of people, casters, fans, people that say, you know, this is the new Empire back in form. I would be hesitant to say that after, you know, a successful run for the second stage of the EUL as well as the mini major.
Yeah.
I just feel like I need to see more consistency, especially for Empire when you look over time, because their main issues seem to arise when they become
the top
kind of when they become the top team. They get kind of complacent. And that's not a place you want to be. You know, it's the reason that G2 identified for why their year 3 run kind of crumbled near the end, and their dynasty ultimately was destroyed. It's the complacency factor. If Empire can continue, can keep on the grind, and can stay at their peak as we move into the new era of Siege, maybe they will be this former Russian machine, as some have called them. Looking at the game, this is another thing that we talked about just for a short period before we went live. I really liked what I saw from Empire on Villa. There was some really dynamic strategies. They tried out some new stuff, especially their red landing hold. I really liked that, where they stacked up barbed wire at short, as well as had Zombie, yes, near Zombie. And they had somebody that just sits on red stairs. Contesting that position is difficult, and not a lot of teams will opt to try and do it, but I think it maybe could be the future of Villa, a map which has started.
Stairs.
Yeah, a map in Villa which has recently, I think, started to trend a little bit more in favor of the attackers. Though maybe that's a bit of an outlier just from what I've seen in T3.
It's happening
in NA.
It's
definitely been
too.
Pretty attack sided.
I think the thing with Villa is we've been using the same thing over and over and over again. People have figured it out.
Like, I mean, and realistically, I think it's very akin to Clubhouse, especially like if you compare it to like Cash Border Clubhouse.
Like Border was so stale and boring that like people had figured out the attacks. It was so easy to win.
I mean, yeah, like everyone knows how to attack like Cash Clubhouse, right? Like it's the most basic shit. You can take like 2 different ways to attack it if you want. And I think the same thing has been done heavily to Villa, except for maybe the tertiary site. I mean, like, those top, like, both the sites on the top floor, like, just do some basic reading up on it. It's not hard to attack them.
I think I'd be a fan of either rotating maps out of the map pool if we had a bigger span of maps that were actually like competitively like stable.
Yeah.
Rotating the map pool, or consistently doing minor reworks to some just like maps so that things do not get so stale that like we are seeing attackers win 60% of the time because it's just like this list of things that you have to do every single damn round. Like on Clubhouse, you're opening plat wall, and then after that, you're like, okay, do we take construction? Do we take garage? That's it. Every single round, you're doing the same thing.
Yeah, like rotate a guy's site window, one plat, then you like either take garage or con. It's the most basic stuff.
That, or you do the Apex style, the Fnatic style, where you open the wall and you just run through and you just do whatever the fuck you want. So.
Yeah, I remember. I think it was I saw like Chaos do that to Secret or some shit, and they just got smoked.
DZ did it against who did DZ play in the finals of the major last time? TSM?
Sam, I believe, yes.
Whoever DZ played in the finals, I think it was, of the major, they did that did the shit and they won the round. Rushing the breach, it works. Do it every round.
I always find it very entertaining.
It's so fun to watch.
Yeah. I think I'm remembering what you're talking about with that strat.
Strat, quote unquote.
Strat. Yeah, it's strat. We can talk about maps. There has been kind of some speculation about the future of the map pool. As far as the maps that I think the first to go for me would be personally Coastline. Not a fan of Coastline. It's not that much fun to cast it. It kind of has a lot of the same issues that you would see in Border. Though Border actually, I kind of enjoyed it in some respects. I think
because the Skylight, man.
100%.
Yeah. I think
Skylight is Bader's paradise, really.
Oh, well, yeah. Like, it's a free frag if you get up on it early round, and like there's a defender still rotating. Way.
So, but like my thing with Coastline is I do not see it coming out because for a lot of viewers it is the most interesting to watch.
Entertaining.
Especially in this meta that we're in, which might change with next season because of the shift in just utility.
Yeah.
But
it's kind of like your for the map, it's kind of like your vacation from the 20-second meta.
Yeah.
In that you don't have to
play fast.
It's fast map and you don't have to struggle from a lot of the 20-second meta issues.
And it's like a super historic map as well. Like,
yeah,
everyone remembers the 22-round game between G2 and Empire at Invite.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I think that, yeah, Coastline. I personally, I really like the map.
But I don't think it will be.
I personally like. It's got its issues, and I definitely think it is not competitively viable at this point anymore.
Yeah,
I think that lighting and aesthetically speaking, it's fucking fantastic. I can actually see shit on the map. That's a change, right?
Yeah.
Fucking Villa.
I think other than Coastline, though... Go ahead. You can finish, and then I'll...
Nah, that's it.
Other than Coastline, I think the most stale map is probably Consulate or something like that.
I would say, yeah,
Consulate. I could see Consulate getting taken out, but Coastline, until like we see a full shift in meta... I do not see viewers being happy with Coastline coming out because you can't tell me that Coastline's not one of your favorite maps to watch as a viewer because you get to see the action almost all of the time. And it is so much more fun to watch. It might even be fun to cast or to play. It sucks to play Coastline, but it is so much more fun for the viewer from the viewer's perspective to enjoy that map.
I definitely think that Consulate, and Border are definitely my top 3 maps that I would like to see reworks.
They're also the most fun to watch too. Like Consulate, Border, and Coastline are like.
I hate like watching Consulate. Well, Clubhouse, like I've noticed a real spur in people saying that they want to see Clubhouse out too, and I think that's only because like Clubhouse and Cafe, in my opinion, are like classic Siege, right? Like
Cafe is
everyone.
So
Cafe is the best comp map in my opinion, like hands down. It ends there. But like, I think that the reason there's been a lot of people saying that they want to see Clubhouse out is because, yeah, it plays the same pretty much every time. The only difference you're going to see is based on teams, and even then,
they're gonna bring in SSG or.
Well, yeah, but even then, you don't see that often because everyone knows how to counter that shit too. It's just, I don't know. A lot of there's different reasons for wanting certain maps out. If you want one out, not because it's a bad map, but because it's, boring for you, like that's, like power to you.
Yeah.
I think that's a stupid reason.
But like,
consulates needs
Consulate
to
can
go
go.
at some point. It needs a rework or something, man.
What about
Give us more
Chalet in
ways to
place of
enter the
Consulate?
building. I think that Chalet, personally, like, no one's played it in ranked. Everyone bans it in ranked, right? Like, the new map ban system, no one wants to play the new map. But that suffers from the fact that no one learns how to play it as well, so you don't really get to see a meta or straight-up sight holes really develop. I think that it would definitely need an introduction into T1, kind of like how Theme Park did to an extent as well. Yeah, how it needed that little dip its toes into T1 and then let the pros kind of determine the general outlines and structures for how defensive holds and attacks would go. I do think that Chalet has the potential to be competitively viable, though.
Okay. I haven't honestly seen much of the Skyscraper being that there was very little to see in the rework so far.
Yeah, we got to see, like,
I've
Dragon
seen leaks,
and...
so I'm, like, a very evil person.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Go to hell.
Yeah. Chalet, when it came out, I try to do this in some respects, give the map the benefit of the doubt, and just kind of hang out, play it in casual if I can. With Chalet, I really like a lot of the first floor aspects. I'm not the hugest fan of how Trophy is oriented. The open nature of the staircase that goes up to the area adjacent to the double windows as well as the master bedroom, I just feel like plays really awkwardly and doesn't really work in a competitive mindset. That's just an easy rotation to lock off. And one of the main issues, obviously, for Chalet is the fact that it only has the 3 staircases. And I feel like that just kind of cripples the map in some respects. It's really easy to lock off the main lobby rotate. It's just so wide open. You can easily hide a drone, a million spots there, set up on K9, wait for your freebie, which is one of the issues the map suffered from previously. So it's weird that Ubisoft has not completely attempted to put full force in eliminating that.
I think
Chalet, honestly, I feel like you could just thrust it into comp and just give it the benefit of the doubt. I was not a big fan of Oregon when it came out. I despised playing on it.
I think it has become one of the best, personally.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that too. And I also kind of thought similarly to Theme Park when I played it. I
still fucking hate Theme.
After the rework, it wasn't fun. I don't really enjoy playing Theme Park personally. Even now that it's a comp map. I do really enjoy casting it, though. It's a fun map. It doesn't get played really ever. And so to have Theme Park as one of the maps in a series is kind of a treat in that it's just, you don't get to see it all too often, and it's a break from the normalcy and from the T3 trifecta of Cafe, Clubhouse, and Oregon or Villa, whichever one you want to put in there.
I think the shift in Chalet was not to make the rest of the map better, because they didn't really change much about the rest of the map, but the objectives all around have become so much more solid.
Every objective is viable.
Like now all the objectives are viable, which went from just you being able to defend 2 of the objectives and like, okay, do we go bar or bedroom and
like monkey around
just
on
jump
master
out windows and
bar,
just peek
like
out
try
the
and get your
windows.
freebies.
To like actually being able to solidly defend and use your utility on all 4 objectives. I think they did that really well, but you are right, like it is very easy to cut off a rotation if you know what you're doing.
And I think one thing they kind of missed out. Sorry.
Go ahead. That's really
okay. I think one thing they kind of missed out on, and I really would have liked to see, the solarium windows. I really do believe there should probably be a balcony there that connects to the bathroom balcony. I think that would have made sense, and I think that having doorways there instead of windows, like, I don't know, I think that would give just the attack a bit more leeway
Kind of like a
in
cash
terms
thing
of
on
entry.
theme park, like on the cash door.
Yeah, like, but that being said, though, like, it's not even in comp. I'm talking about a fucking ranked map here, right? Like, I have no idea how it's going to develop. So, like, my point might be moot. It might not matter in the slightest, but
it's hard to predict how the map would play. And I think that was the issue with Villa as well as Theme Park. Not Villa, with Theme Park as well as Oregon. It's just that people don't like change. And they see the new map came in, and I will concede, I did suffer from this a little bit. I saw, it's a new map. I didn't like playing it, so when it came into comp, I was like, gods, no, why are you doing this? I guess with Theme Park in place, a bank, it was a little bit more acceptable because bank was just a terrible map. Every respect.
Soft spot in my heart.
We had the same issue when Villa, like you said Villa, but when Villa first came out, everyone hated Villa too. Like, it was hard to find anyone who enjoyed playing Villa. Even now, like, kind of, but Villa's more
it's
of an
very
enjoyable
50-50
now. But before, when it came out, no one wanted the map pool to change and put Villa in. I forget.
Yeah.
That was so long ago. I don't even know what they took out for Villa.
I think it's...
I think they just expanded.
Oh, yeah. It went from 7 to 9.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or something like that.
I think it's just that people are kind of ignorant of the map, and so when a change comes in, they don't want to learn, and they don't want to go to a different way. As a player, as a caster, I like casting the new maps because it comes in with kind of a different flavor, and casting a new map involves a big learning process. You need to figure out how teams are going to hold certain bomb sites, and with the rework, as would be the case for either Chalet coming back in, which hasn't been in the map pool since Season 5 in the ESL days. Skyscraper, I think, barely ahead of Chalet in the fact that it might even been in the span of 1 or 2 seasons that they both left the pool.
I think they left,
but
simultaneously.
They might have left. Maybe?
Because that's when they went from having every map in the pool, or not every map, but like...
You might be right on that.
I
will, I'll bring it up.
I'm not sure, though, but... I mean, worst case scenario, just make everyone play Fortress. That's what I'm saying.
Shut up. Don't talk to me. Don't like that.
Fortress
Looking
is
at it
goated.
now. Yeah, you are correct. They were both eliminated in Chimera going into Parabellum. So they did leave at the same time.
Skyscraper. Wait, going into so Skyscraper had Lion available?
Yes, maybe?
Blitz, Lion, Finka, Doke on Skyscraper.
No, that's if you even get up the balconies. Man.
Oh my gosh, I hate that map. Okay. Well, yeah. I definitely could see the map pool being changed in the near future.
I would like to see how Skyscraper turns out before a decision is made between bringing one in. Change, though, must happen. And whether it is Consulate or it's Coastline or it's Clubhouse, I just want to see something change up because the T3 trifecta has become very obnoxious and a new map needs to come in. Another thing that I enjoy about in casting a new map is the fact that a team can leverage that in their pool. If they practice a new map, if they're an early adopter of the map, they can get a huge leverage point over another team and say, you are a really good Consulate team for a long time. Consulate gets taken out of the pool. You kind of have to scramble and figure out what that new map is going to be, whether it'll move, you try to play a more existing map, or you make the new map your playground.
Yeah, I really do think we need to force teams to diversify map pools too, because there are so many teams who are only playing 4 maps.
Especially in T3.
Yeah, especially in T3. That is facts. I don't know. It's annoying. I do not enjoy watching T3 Siege anymore because I am watching them play Cafe or Clubhouse.
Yeah.
Or Consulate or Coastline, and those are the 4.
For me, Cafe is the only map that I see that gets exhausting. I think. It just reaches a certain point. I don't know what it is. For about a month and a half span, I probably had 40%, maybe even close to 50% of my casts were all cafe. It was played in every single series. And during the map ban phase, before the cast begun, I was sitting there, fingers crossed, hoping that we did not get cafe because I was sick and tired of casting that map because it's sometimes just, it's so repetitive.
Yeah, cafe is really linear in the way you attack it, but it's also the most enjoyable for me to play, I think, because of the comfortability aspect. But of the maps where like we're talking about non-comfortability, I do find Oregon in comp at least. I hate it in ranked, but Oregon in comp at least was definitely my favorite to play back when I did play. So, I think
Yeah.
we need to just take map. We need to take all the maps out and force people to play with casual maps.
Yeah, some good old house casts. That would be interesting.
I'd be a fan of even just expanding the map pool if they don't want to take anything out, adding the two, like they threw Oregon with the day it came out was when, like, the season it came out, they threw it back into the map pool, right? It was like I don't think they waited with Oregon.
I think they did wait one season. From
Did
what
they?
I'm looking at, a chart here released in what is, so it came into the pool for Steel Wave.
Steel Wave was season 2.
So Oregon's rework, it seems, released in Void Edge, and the map came into the pool for Steel Wave. I don't know this chart. Oh, so. Yeah, I don't know. It's been in the pool for Steel Wave, and that's it. So there was like a one season trial kind of waiting period.
Okay.
I'm looking at.
I mean, I'd love to see that change, because most just like throwing both Skyscraper and Chalet into the map pool and making it 9 map. It's 7, right? Yeah,
it's 7.
Making it 9.
I don't know how that would affect map bans though, because that's something you have to look at, like the order, or maybe you add another or something.
Pick. I like the idea of pick, ban. No, ban, pick, ban, pick. Yep. I think that's how it works. Wait, I don't know. Whatever. My brain's not working.
I get what you mean.
But if they expand it, it wouldn't really force people to change how they play it, though. All they were going to do is just add another ban and ban Chalet or ban Skyscraper. But, I mean, and best of 3s, I think it would change how things roll out, at least.
Yeah. That would be interesting to see the results of in a 9 map pool. I'm looking at the original comp pool. It was 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 maps.
And it was
were in play for Black Ice. The major competitive map pool originally, Yacht was in for 1 season. It was taken out immediately after Black Ice. It seems like for a long time the main map pool was Coastline, Skyscraper, Border, Oregon, Cafe, Consulate, Clubhouse, Bank, and Chalet. That was the big ones. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah, I remember Yacht and House were immediately taken out, I think.
Yeah.
And I don't know what else.
House was in for 2 seasons. Yacht was only in for 1.
Was Hereford in it?
Hereford was in for 3 seasons.
Okay, so those are the 3 maps.
Yep. Okay, so quite unfortunately, because this has ran on a bit longer than expected, I've got duties to take care of. Okay. So I'm going to have to actually make my departure for now, and I apologize, okay?
I can wrap this up right here, unless Sticula has anything else to add.
I think we've reached a good stopping point.
Yeah, no, we've been
are we at a record for?
Yeah, no, we're down
100 minutes.
Okay,
that's pretty good.
take it. Man.
All right. Well, thank you, Sticula, for coming on and giving us some insight and for talking about the new season and just competitive Siege in general.
Of course.
It was fun. Thank you, everyone, for watching. We've had a consistent amount of viewers in the stream today, and we didn't get to like hot takes, but we also kind of did. So
in some respects, yeah.
We got to talk about things we wouldn't get to talk about generally.
Right.
So I'll take that.
we were
as far as the future though, look out for me maybe in CCS in CL later down the line. Maybe even RSA for season 3. Who knows? Just yet. Follow me though on Twitter. I drop some banger tweets as well as notifications for my cast. That would be at Sticula.
We make sure to mention every guest Twitter if they have one.
We will,
of course,
keep everyone updated. And thank you, Sticula, for coming on. Sorry Sam wasn't here, but it just be like that sometimes. And that's the end of the podcast. Thank you, everyone, for watching.
Right now. I know that little shit's playing the
All right,
game right
bye,
now.
everybody.
Little bastard.